So this is a common statement that I get from a lot of people who claim that Jesus is a consciousness. Those who want to reject the religion of Christianity and try to speak on a level of spirituality and especially some type of mystical spirituality. And that is that Jesus, the Christ, is a Christ mind. It is a way of being, it is a thought, that it is not to be taken literally as a person. So they completely disregard any aspect of a historical Jesus who was who was legendized into the storybook version that you have in the Bible, where he was just probably some regular dude, some regular preacher who was killed, and then legends were created about him. And in those legends, it makes him out to be a liar, saying that he will return before those who are amongst them at that moment will not taste death, yet we know they all died. So, in order to combat some of those contradictions and be able to hold on to being a believer of the Bible, being a believer of the New Testament, they come up with the idea of Christ consciousness, Christ mindedness. First, let's look at the idea. What is Christ? Christ simply is an anointed one, someone who has been anointed with knowledge and connection with a spiritual dimensional plane that penetrates dimensional voids and all this other bullshit. Because the reality is, you have absolutely zero proof of any consciousness that exists beyond our matter plane of existence. We have zero proof of interdimensional spiritual consciousness that is dealing with things on the earth. They're causing the waves to move and roll and crash up against the sand. There's no proof of this at all. It is all your perception of the universe by which you are constantly living in. Like right now, my universe encompasses being at Corpus Christi at this beach. It also is intersecting with every other person that is within my purview. So we are all in a shared environment, but still having our own individual experiences. And because of that, we are independently thought of our own universe. And people will say that, and although we are sharing one now, that sharing will only last as long as we're in proximity to one another. There is nothing spiritual about it. There is no Christ consciousness about it. And the idea of Christ consciousness in itself is a take on the Buddha mind, which is your mind, your thoughts, going to a higher vibrational plane where you don't participate in society in the way that society moves, that you see things more clearly, you understand things based on how the universe functions, and but you go beyond the scientific, they go beyond nature, and you try to say that there is a super nature. There is no such thing as a super nature. All things are within nature, plain and simple. As I said, this is an attempt to hold on to the indoctrination, but having enough difference so that you feel like you have separated yourself from the superego of the Christian mindset, and so that you don't have to proclaim yourself to be Christian. You are still Christian if you are following the Bible based on the teachings of Jesus, and you are just changing those teachings to fit whatever paradigm you want. For instance, many will say that Jesus said, and that the kingdom of God is at hand. The kingdom of God being at hand means that it's right now. It's right here. And that you merely just have to increase your vibrational thoughts to be able to recognize what that kingdom is. But that kingdom then becomes whatever your individual universal perspective is. And most of that is based on what culture you grew up in, what country you grew up in, and the year, the time frame that you grew up in. Because a person who would claim Christ consciousness in the time frame of the antebellum South with slavery would still have a slave or something that is acceptable mentality. Someone growing up during the time frame of the Crusades will still say that conquering the Islam during and taking the Holy Land is part of that consciousness. Someone growing up when polygamy was okay, we'll say polygamy was part of that concept, so on and so forth. So therefore, there is no such thing as a Christ consciousness beyond whatever you make up for yourself. But really, you're just holding on to the Bible. You're holding on to your indoctrination. You got one foot in and one foot out, but the foot that's out is just in another version of it. So it is merely just another denomination of the 42,000 that exist, plain and simple. So this is just the same BS that Christians promote. So I'll have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibration.